Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and today I am doing a manga haul, which is very exciting. I'm not buying a lot of manga at the moment, but I will have a larger haul next month because I did participate in the Viz sale on Right Stuff. And of course, because I'm Canadian, I have to spend quite a bit in order to get the free shipping, so there's quite a lot of manga on the way. But this month, of course, the haul is going to be quite a bit smaller, but there's some really cool titles in here. None of these are continuations of series, they're all going to be the beginnings of a series, or they're going to be self-contained volumes, so lots of really cool things here. Anyway, let's just see what I've got. So we'll start with the one book that I have already read, and it's the only one I've read from this pile so far. This is Tecate and Hana by Yuki Shiwasu. This is from the Shoujo Beat imprint from Viz, and I picked it up because I was really excited about the age dynamic of these two particular characters. One, of course, is an adult, one is a teenager, and just sometimes in shoujo manga that's like my favorite thing to read about. I just sometimes really appreciate that relationship dynamic. This one I didn't like all that much. It's not the kind of dynamic that I like. I like more serious relationship, and this one, the adult character is actually very childish, and I don't like that. So I was really disappointed in this title in particular, but I do have it now. It's still fun, but it's not what I was hoping for. Anyway, I have this. The next title I ended up picking up is a pretty big omnibus. This is In This Corner of the World by Fumio Kōno. This was published by Seven Seas, and man, they really are some of the best quality publications these days. This is a story about a young woman who is living in Japan during the war and with her husband, and just sort of trying to survive kind of the cost of war, I think, is basically what it's about. There is a feature film which I think was released in North America before this manga came out. I haven't seen that, of course, but I've heard really great things about that film, and I've heard great things about this manga, although not as much as I would kind of expect, seeing that there was that film out. So anyway, I just thought that I would enjoy reading this. I don't like reading about war, but hopefully this is not the kind of war story that I don't like to read about. It's not that I don't like war stories, it's just that I don't like to read about the war. Because, like this person, I like to hide in a hole and escape from that reality. Anyway, I think this will be a good manga. It looks really nice, and the art in it is unique. There's some interesting panel work here in the middle, but the art is just really sweet looking, so I think I'm going to enjoy this manga. The next title I have picked up is Ding Dong Circus and Other Stories, 1967 to 74 by Sasaki Maki. This is published by Breakdown Press, and it was edited by Ryan Holmberg, who I like to purchase the titles that he's translated because he's a good translator, and he's got really interesting books that he works on. Sasaki Maki is apparently really quite well known from the 60s and 70s. He was a leader in sort of an avant-garde or experimental style. I think this is just a collection of short stories, and let's see if I can show you a picture. As you can see, his art style is quite a bit different than the manga that you probably think of when you hear the word manga. But he looks like he uses quite fine mark tips and repeated patterns in his work, which looks really interesting. Of course, this is the first title that I have read by this author. I'm looking forward to getting into his work. There's a little comment here on the back by Haruki Murakami, who is pretty well-known Japanese author, and I guess Sasaki Maki was illustrated a lot of his book covers. So there's that connection as well. So, but anyway, I have been kind of eyeing this one for a while on Amazon, and it was just about out of print, so, or just about out of stock. So I thought, you know, now is the time to pick this up. These are the kind of books that I'm picking up more of recently, so I think it'll be a pretty enjoyable read. I'm looking forward to it. In January, I think I had borrowed Seiichi Hayashi's Red Colored Elegy from the library. My sister has had it on pre-order for about 2 years. It has finally come in, so this is her copy. It's not actually part of this haul, but I'm showing it to you because it relates to my next title. But this title is finally out, so if you have also been waiting for Red Colored Elegy to come out again, it is now available, so you should probably get on it because who knows how long that will last. So I ended up picking up Hayashi Sage's Red Red Rock and Other Stories 1967 to 1970. This one is also translated by Ryan Holmberg and also from Breakdown Press. This is again a contemporary of the Ding Dong Circus, and again it is alternative titles. I think this author was featured a lot in Garo magazine, so I think that's pretty much where these titles are coming from, just alternative comics from the era. And again, another title that I've had in my cart for a while and just thought it was about time I picked it up. Looks like Batman here. So anyway, I think this will be interesting to read, and I'm really glad to be able to read this with Red Colored Elegy at the same time. The next title I picked up because I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to end up being able to pick it up while it was still in print, and that is Japan as Viewed by 17 Creators. This was in my cart on Amazon and it had gone out of stock, and I couldn't see that they were going to restock it, so I was thinking it's probably at the end of its life, it's probably technically out of print. And so I went and found it on Book Depository. They still had copies, so I ended up picking it up there. If this is something that you've been interested in picking up, probably want to get on it now because I suspect it's not going to come back. It was published by Ponant Mon, so it is a publisher that doesn't seem to have a lot of reprints. This is a compilation of stories about Japan, or the experience of Japan, the ideas of Japan, by Japanese creators as well as notable European creators. Some of these creators are part of the Nouvelle Manga movement, which, if you know, I think maybe about last year I was picking up quite a lot of Nouvelle Manga. So there are a handful of titles, or a handful of authors who are part of that movement. I don't know, all of these authors might be, I haven't looked into them all and I'm not familiar with many of them, but it will be interesting to get kind of a look at them. But there are some notable creators that you might be familiar with, like Moyoko Anno, Frederick Boilet, Kazuichi Hanawa, Daisuke Igarashi, Taiyo Matsumoto, Jiro Taniguchi. There are others, of course, but since I don't know how to pronounce their names, I'm not going to try. Anyway, I'm really happy to have this. I was glad that I was able to actually get a copy while it was still available and not impossible to find. It's really got a very wide range and mix of art styles in it. So I am really looking forward to seeing how everybody perceives Japan, and certainly I have my own perceptions of Japan as well, so it'll be good to be challenged in that way as well. So this is, it looks like a really nice publication, an interesting compilation of stories. The next couple of titles are all new releases. These are all ones that I actually picked up at Chapters just at the very beginning of the month. So some of them may actually be March releases, I'm not entirely sure. Two of them don't say inside. But I'm going to include them now because I know that I have a big haul coming, so I might as well kind of squash them into this month. So one of those titles that I picked up is, again, by Mitsurō Kubo. This is published by Kodansha. This is the same author who helped co-create Yuri on Ice. I think a few titles by Kubo have actually been coming out. I think this one, and then Moteki is also coming out in the near future. And it's really interesting because Moteki is coming out from Vertical and this is Kodansha, and they're actually cross-promoting each other, so there's some agreement between the two of them to cross-promote, which is very unusual and really interesting to see. This is a story that I'm interested in, not because of Yuri on Ice. I've never seen the anime. I don't normally watch anime. I have heard a lot about it, but this is a story about a young man who, at some point in his life, he's kind of come to, I'm not sure if it's the end, or he's just sort of, there's a certain point, some decision has to be made or something, but he ends up going back to high school, just like reliving his high school experience, but this time he's going to make the most of it. And some part of making the most of it includes him joining the cheer team, and Japanese cheer teams are so great, and I have never seen a manga that's solely about Japanese cheer. I think the only place that you really see it to any degree, at least in any manga that I've read, is in High School Debut, because there's a whole episode where Yo has to participate in cheer for their festival. I'm so excited about reading a manga about cheer. I can't even tell you how excited that is. The next title I picked up because I missed it the first time, and I'm so glad I did, because vertical releases are far and above the quality and translation value that Tokyopop titles were, and this was originally released from Tokyopop, and I was always like, yeah, I'll pick it up later, and then I totally missed picking it up, and now I'm glad I did, because there's this. This is by Makoto Shinkai and Mizu Sahara. Makoto Shinkai is a pretty popular anime director, and I have seen Voices of a Distant Star. That's probably the only anime from this director that I have seen, so I am already familiar with this story. It is quite quiet and sad and just sort of melancholic, and I think it's mostly it's been so long since I watched that anime, so like it's probably been close to 20 years since I've seen that anime, but I do remember there's something about mecha and something about having to travel into space, and in the process of traveling into space, of course, the main character doesn't age, but everybody back home does, and so it's sort of like this disconnect and loss of love, I think, because of that. I think. I don't really know. I can't quite remember, but I remember enjoying that film, and I'm really looking forward to finally reading it and actually having a good copy of it, so this is a really nice thing to pick up, plus it's fully contained within this volume. And speaking of Blast from the Past, I also picked up the new Saint Seiya. This is Saintia Show. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that title. This is by Masami Kurumada and art by Chimaki Kuori. I'm actually really disappointed that Masami Kurumada didn't do the art for this, because I love the art in the original Saint Seiya. Yeah, this new art is a modern style that I'm not particularly receptive to, so I'm not going to be terribly excited about the art. Like, it's fine art, but it's not fine art, if you get my drift. So that's pretty much what you're looking at there. Oh, naked. But it looks pretty fun. It's, again, published from Seven Seas, who are doing a really nice job with their publishing, and picking up some interesting titles, and I'm really super excited to read this, because who didn't love Saint Seiya when it was coming out? I unfortunately don't have any Saint Seiya manga. That is something like a big gaping hole personally in my collection, so I'm really happy to be able to at least sort of fill it with this. But yeah, if I ever have a chance to collect Saint Seiya, I definitely will do that as well. Really, really happy to have this. I'm really looking forward to it, and I have no idea what to expect from it. It is supposed to be an all-female cast, so that will be very interesting. The last title I ended up picking up is Silver Spoon by Hiromu Arakawa. Now, I don't like Full Metal Alchemist, I can say that fairly safely. It's just not a title for me. It's not anything to do with the author, though. I think it's just that she made decisions about her story, and they're all like settings and scenarios and stuff that I don't care for in manga, and she just happened to have all of the things that I don't like in manga in one manga. But it has nothing to do with her art style or her storytelling. It's just, those just happen to be things I don't like. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. This is supposed to be a slice of life story about farm life. Apparently she did grow up on a farm, so she should be fairly experienced in talking about this story, or to tell this story. I have heard really good things about this story. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I'm excited to get into this one, so and I'm excited to maybe fall in love with Arakawa's work. So I am really looking forward to reading this, and I am very happy to see that it's getting published. So despite my saying that it was actually a small haul, it looks actually like a pretty decent haul. Oops, here we go. So this is everything that I picked up in the month of February and a little bit into March. There are some bigger hauls coming. There's a few sales coming up, and definitely a fairly substantial Viz haul coming up. Anyway, if you've read any of these titles, would love to know, especially if you've read Japan or Ding Dong Circus or Red Red Rock. I would really like to hear about those titles. Let me know what you thought about them. Certainly we can talk about any of them, but those ones in particular I'm very curious to hear because you don't hear about those titles as often. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.